Waifu over meta. It's a common saying in the Arknights community, and I never really shared my thoughts on the saying since I at least consider myself a semi-meta player, and you'll get shut down immediately if you bring up meta in an argument. It's a widely accepted perception in the Arknights community that raising waifus is this untouchable aspect of the game that no one is allowed to criticize because it's a personal choice. Recently, Drails made a video calling into question this perspective, but since I have more subscribers than him, this idea was mine first, and he should be locked up for plagiarizing my content. This video isn't going to be a direct response to his, but I'll include some of his arguments here and there so I can have some easy ideas to bounce off of. God, Calcit's tacos are just so good. When's the next Taco Tuesday? It should be around the 22nd, which is a Monday. Just because it's called Taco Tuesday, it doesn't mean it always happens on Tuesday, okay? What about the time zone difference between us and Calcit? Okay, we might live on the same land shipped, but the ends of the ship could be an hour apart. Okay, sorry. Personally, it gets a little annoying when people ask for advice whether they should build a non-meta operator or not, and I express that this operator is probably not worth building for usability, but then I always have to shove in, but if he/she/it is your waifu/husbando/furry of your dreams, then go ahead and build them. The waifu versus meta debate acts like there are only two reasons you can raise operators: waifu or meta, but there's plenty more. You can raise operators because you like their personality. You can raise operators because they're meta. You can raise operators because you like their kit. You can raise operators because you're a base slave. Please don't actually do this, the return on investment is definitely not worth it. Instead, what I think we should be calling into question is the skill level of the player we're giving this advice to. Here's a clear of 718 with only E0 level 1 operators, so clearly any stage can be super optimized to a very low investment in operators, and this is what most people's argument consists of when they're on the waifu side. The game can be cleared with little investment in your operators, so you have the freedom to build whoever you want, even if they're not good for gameplay. This is where Drails makes his counter argument. By raising operators that aren't good for gameplay, beginners will fall into a trap where they will copy one-to-one guides in order to clear stages instead of playing the game themselves, since they don't have a good grasp of the fundamentals of strategy concepts. You're essentially destroying the gameplay aspect of Arknights, which is one of the biggest reasons to play the game, he argues. Hardcore Arknights players will prove their skills by deliberately challenging themselves with unraised operators, but that's because these players actually know what they're doing when they go into a stage. Beginners don't. Waifu over meta is harmful to lower skilled players since they gain the mentality of, I can raise anything and still have the benefits of clearing a stage. What makes Arknights fun for me and many other people is the fact that you can beat a map any way you want to. While raising waifus is an untouchable personal aspect of the game, I would argue that beating maps with your own unique strategy is just as valuable as raising waifus. It doesn't matter if your squad is filled with a bunch of meta or low rarity ops. The fact that you beat the stage with your own unique squad is an achievement itself, and you should take pride in that. Now, my philosophy when it comes to Arknights is that your account is your account, so I don't really care what you do with it. If you're that type of person to get genuine fulfillment from raising operators and staring at that lovely art, then go ahead. More power to you. Just because this video is biased towards the gameplay side of Arknights doesn't mean waifu players have the wrong reasons for playing the game. Waifus are a totally valid reason to play Arknights. I'm not here to lecture you and micromanage your account, forcing you to raise operators I would raise. It's just that in general, I think as a community, we should calm down on the waifu side of the argument because it tends to outbalance the gameplay experience. Like, I just don't understand how you can't conceptualize Taco Tuesday happening on a Monday. It should be easy to comprehend, but maybe your brain is smaller or something. Wait a second. I smell tacos. It's coming from over there. Let's check it out. Ifrit? Drails in his video argued against the practice of guide copying and handholding, which is basically a person clearing the stage for someone else, and I can agree with this to an extent. With handholding, the person who is being handheld doesn't actually learn anything from the experience, they just have the stage beat for them, which robs them of playing the game for themselves. Copying one-to-one strategies is similar to copying homework. Sure, you get the answer, but you don't understand the process, and this argument also applies to harder strats too. I don't care if you achieved high risk if you literally just copied someone else. However, there are definitely times where things suck. You're feeling especially lazy that day, and you just want to follow in someone else's footsteps. Cough cough, annihilations. This doesn't excuse players who are reliant on these guides though. In my beginner experience, I've copied guides a handful of times, specifically some of the Chapter 4 ones and the H6 stages. But for most of the story, I had at least a sliver of an idea of what I was doing, and I turned out just fine. Except for 5-3. Everyone hates 5-3. I think it's inevitable that a player will copy guides sometime in their Arknights career, especially when they first start out, unless they're very adamant about not looking up strategies. What makes guide copying so prevalent is the fact that there just isn't enough information on the basics of gameplay. I will concede that guides can help players since most people are bound to have different operators, levels, or timings in the guide, so they'll have to adjust these mechanical differences to their own strategy, which makes you notice the small differences between your strategy and the original. As much as I beat down on guides, I have no hate towards Kyo, Echo, Cookie, and the other guide makers. In fact, guides can be an amazing resource for beginner players to understand the mechanics of the game. If you put the time and effort into understanding which operator goes where and why that operator is placed there, you can gain a substantial amount of knowledge from guides and watching other people. But that's the thing, you have to put the effort into reverse engineering the strategy, which most people don't. Okay, so how do we solve this entire debate? Advice I would give to a player starting out is to build at least a few meta operators first. Thorns, Surtur, Saria, and Ea will allow you to comfortably clear 99% of content. Just E2 them and put masteries on their respective skills, and then you can go build for your waifu or whoever. If you start finding the game way easier, then go challenge yourself by not relying on these operators as much. If you're still struggling a little, then go raise more meta ops. The key advice here is that you should raise a comfortable squad first to make sure you're not molding when it comes to gameplay. Once you've acquired your ideal squad, that's when you have the freedom to raise whoever you want. I want everyone to enjoy and admire the strategy aspect of the game. As for copying guides, I think the best way to get out of this habit is to just play the game. And for people who are competent at the game, we should be responsible for making information easy and accessible for beginner players. I remember when I first started out, I didn't realize GamePress, A-Ship, and PRTS were actually the credible Arknights wikis, and I kept resorting to the MRFZ fandom one. Watching other players play is also extremely beneficial. You get to broaden your horizons on how specific operators can be used, and you can also apply the concepts elsewhere. In the description, I'll attach a bunch of links that I commonly use for Arknights. Okay, so all we have to do is give this advice? Yeah? If only it was that easy, just me handing out advice and everyone following this video. Sadly, there is no structured solution to this problem of players feeling entitled to building whoever they want and destroying the gameplay aspect of Arknights, which is kind of ironic. The main element of Arknights, the fact that there are so many different strategies to beating a specific map, is its greatest strength. But people who aren't into the game will just use that as an excuse to build any operator they want. So what do we do about these players? Nothing. What? You're expecting a genius solution from me? No, I'm a pretty lazy person, and trying to convince people to enjoy the game is a little too much effort on my part. At that point, I might as well start brainwashing them to join the Amiapog cult. There's not much you can do to force a person to like the game. If they enjoy the strategy part of Arknights, they'll do the research and look for the information sources outside the game. If they don't, well, they'll just copy guides or drop the game entirely. I might just be a complete nihilist, and there's probably a good structured solution staring at me in the face, but I think this entire waifu versus meta argument just comes down to responsibility. At the end of the day, Arknights is a single player game. You are responsible for your own account, which means if you genuinely feel the enjoyment in raising operators more than playing the game, then I can't stop you, and you are totally entitled to do that. Just do whatever makes you happy. Ifrit, are you the one making the tacos? Yo, alright, can we each get a taco? Ifrit, these are literally charcoaled to death.